Hey everybody, Sam here, also known as Mr. Stainless, and today, as promised, I am bringing you my thoughts on the Choose Your Own Apocalypse update that was announced last week now for State of Decay 2. My thoughts probably aren't going to be a massive shock for any of you who've been around the channel for any length of time, or who tuned into the Arcades Gamecast podcast the night that the DLC was announced. But in short, I don't really care. So it's not that I'm really upset about the update, and I'm not really excited about the update. It's something that it's not going to bring. It's not going to make me play the game more, but it's not going to make me play the game less. Do you know? Does that make any sense? I'm kind of just on the fence about it. Like, it's cool that it's coming out, and it's cool that it's been announced. It doesn't really affect me. Like, I don't really care. So I put out a poll on my channel pretty much the night that the Choose Your Own Apocalypse update was announced, basically asking all of you what you guys thought for the purposes of this video. And the three options that I gave you were that you were excited that this was going to add lots more playtime to your time in State of Decay 2. The second option was that you were really upset about it and that this wasn't going to bring you back to the game. And the third option was that you didn't really care, but that you were happy that it was being announced. That third option is pretty much where I sit. Now, I've kind of pulled together all of the answers that you guys gave on those polls. I accidentally posted it twice. Apologies for that. I think I did it via my phone and there was some kind of weird glitch. But I've pulled together all of the answers. I think in total there were about 700 people voted, so thank you for that. That's been like totally invaluable knowing where you guys are thinking on this. But out of all of those answers, the most popular answer, the most voted, was that you were happy about this update, that it was going to add more playtime to your time in State of Decay 2. The second option, the second most popular vote, was that you didn't really care, but that you were happy it was added. The least popular vote, the one that fewest people voted for, was that you were angry about this update and that it wouldn't bring you back to the game. And I find that really interesting, actually. The reason why is because if you look at my comment section on a number of my State of Decay 2 videos recently, it's just been horrible to read through. It's been horrible to read through those comments because there's so much salt in the comments, and like, people are really angry. They're just cursing Undead Labs out in the comments, and it's like, let's just maybe take a little bit of a chill pill here. Like, let's just calm down. I can understand why people are really upset about this update, because I think a lot of us kind of thought, and me included, kind of thought, why would they hype up an announcement if it was just going to be that they were introducing a harder difficulty? That seemed like an odd thing to do. In my head, the way that I looked at it was, well, they're probably going to hype it up because the difficulty slider, I'm going to call it the difficulty slider because that's what we had been calling it kind of up to this point, but the difficulty slider is going to be in this, and then they're also going to have something else. So in my head, I kind of thought it'll be the difficulty slider and then maybe a trailer or an update on the Trumbull Valley map. Or they're going to be like, here's the difficulty slider and some new weapons and a vehicle or something like that. Do you know what I mean? I thought it was going to be a little bit more meaty. So I was kind of surprised whenever this big reveal was simply that it's just going to be a harder difficulty. And don't get me wrong, I'm like, without a doubt, I am sure that it probably took the dev team quite some time to code all of this and to implement it and test it and bug fix it and all that stuff. Like, I think as a community, we can sometimes take it for granted how small the Undead Labs team are compared to a AAA developer, because they are, bear in mind, they're a small indie dev studio, even though they may be owned by Microsoft now. They're still a small studio, and I think what we take for granted is that we assume that they will be able to just whip up the code and whip up some kind of new mechanics at the same speed a studio that could be like 3 to 5 to 10 times their size would be able to. I think the difficulty update for them, this has probably been a number of months of work and a lot of hard work, and I don't want to diminish that. I just wish that there had been something more in the announcement. So I can understand the frustration that some community members are having in this because I think a lot of people wanted to see a little bit more of Trumbull Valley. I think it's important though that they did address this in the dev stream. They did say that, hey, look, Trumbull Valley is coming. We are working on it, but we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to show anything until I guess they're ready to actually fulfill that. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a tough stance to take because there's pros and cons to it. I think Blaze Experience mentioned this on the Arcades Gamecast podcast. It's basically this idea that Undead Labs won't say anything until they're ready for us to have it. So they haven't talked about this difficulty update. They haven't announced the difficulty update. They haven't showed us anything about it until we were ready to get it. So if you think about it, they've showed us the difficulty update. We get it 2 weeks later. They haven't talked about Trumbull Valley yet because we won't have it in our hands for some time. So you can be rest assured that whenever they do talk about Trumbull Valley, whenever they do show it to us, we'll probably be getting it like a couple of weeks later, which is great because we're not having to wait like prolonged periods of time between announcement and release. The trouble is that everybody wants to see more of it, and it feels frustrating that you don't get to hear anything until such times as they are ready to showcase it. So that's tough for me anyway. I'm one of these people, one of the State of Decay 2 players that I'm really holding out for the Trumbull Valley map. I'm holding out for more meaningful kind of lore updates. That's something that as a gamer I love. I love story, I love lore. Difficulty isn't really something that rustles my jimmies. So while I can appreciate the difficulty update and how it will add meaningful playtime to other members of the community, it doesn't really add more playtime onto me. I probably will play them, I'll probably enjoy them, but it's not the kind of thing that if I had a wish list, it would be on there. Do you know what I mean? One thing that I think is important about this update is that it does seem to be catering more towards the players who have been looking for more of a breakdown experience, who have been looking for more of a difficulty experience. I think it really does deliver for them, and I think it's wrong for us to belittle that. I think there a lot of people in the comments have been saying how, oh, it's just a difficulty update, like so what? I think it's wrong of us to just kind of wishy-washy it away in such a way like that. I think there are people in the State of Decay 2 community who have been longing for something like this, and it's great to see that Undead Labs have delivered this for them. Just because they haven't delivered a product or an update that is specifically catered to your needs doesn't mean that this isn't something that has been requested numerous times in the community, and it is something that they are now delivering on, and I think that is something to praise. I think anytime a developer releases a meaningful update with meaningful content to the game is something that should be celebrated, even if it isn't the content that you wanted, because it means that they are actively coding, they are actively improving and making new things for your game. One of the worries that I have about the difficulty update is actually something which I didn't really know was an issue. There were a few comments, I think maybe about between 5 and 10 comments on the last video there, where people were saying that they actually already find the game really difficult and they already find it really hard. So they feel slightly worried that this difficulty update is being released because they feel like they're going to get left behind and the game is just going to become unplayable for them. One thing I would say to those players is that don't worry about it. The kind of core State of Decay 2 experience that you're already playing right now is still going to be preserved. Yes, you may be finding it really, really difficult, but don't worry about it. Like, over time, you will get used to the mechanics more, you will get used to the experience, and it will become easier over time. So don't feel like you're going to be forced into these more difficult modes for State of Decay 2. It would be great if they had a slightly easier mode for you to kind of get more accustomed to it, but that is State of Decay. It can be a really harsh environment to play in. So one thing I would say, just to reassure players who are thinking that, don't worry, you're not going to get left behind. You're not going to be forced into playing these super difficult modes. Just keep playing the normal State of Decay 2 mode that you are playing right now. I think the key thing that I'm taking away from the last video that I made, the announcement video for the Choose Your Own Apocalypse update, is that the comments on my videos are not indicative of the overall opinion of the State of Decay 2 community. And I think the poll was really representative of that. If you read through the comments, you would think that no one, apart from like 3 people, who play State of Decay 2 wanted this. But yet when you look at that poll, out of 700 people, over half are really pleased that this update is coming and are really pleased that this is going to add more playtime to their sessions. With regards to my thoughts on all of this, like I said, it can be summed up in one sentence. It's not going to add or lessen the amount of time I play this game, but I am happy that it's being brought into the game. I think it's a meaningful update, and I'm really happy that other people are going to get enjoyment out of it, and it's going to improve their State of Decay experience. For those of you who are really angry, though, about this update and who feel betrayed, which is a word that has come up a couple of times in the comments there, I think this isn't for all of you, but I think the key thing that I would say is that there is a way to communicate your frustration that is constructive and that would be listened to by the dev team. For those of you who are jumping into the comments here and who are jumping into the Undead Labs Discord, onto the Twitter, onto the Twitch, onto wherever, and you are just spewing salt and vitriol, that is not the way to go about sharing your opinion on this and critiquing Undead Labs on this. There is a way to communicate your frustration in a way that the dev team will actually listen to you and take that on board. For those of you who do feel betrayed with this update, one thing I would love for you to do is to, in a mannerful way, just let me know why down in the comments below. Like, for those of you who feel completely betrayed by this update and who are not happy with this whatsoever, just a couple of bullet points. Let me know why down in the comments below and what you would like to see Undead Labs create or improve or bring out in their next big meaningful update. But folks, those are my thoughts. As always, would love to know yours down in the comments below. Until next time, have a great week, and I'll speak to you all soon.